Let me tell you something strange about people who overanalyze before acting. We live in a world that values instant decisions, swift action, and relentless forward momentum. Maybe you're one of them, caught in the quiet churn of your own thoughts, meticulously mapping out every possibility, and maybe no one has ever truly explained to you why your mind works this way, why the pause before the leap feels so necessary, so heavy. If you want to understand what you feel without labels and find words to explain yourself without justifying, subscribe. Here we translate psychology into relief, not diagnosis. The world often calls this hesitation, indecision, or even a lack of nerve. It's seen as a weakness, a flaw in the machinery of modern life that demands constant output. But what if it's the opposite? What if this deep, introspective dive before action is a quiet form of inner congruence, a profound energetic protection, or even a subtle, sophisticated emotional maturity? What if it's a sensitivity to potential outcomes, a meticulous introspection that seeks clarity where others rush blindly? Perhaps it's a form of self-control, where the mind insists on understanding the full landscape before taking a single step, not out of fear, but out of a deep-seated commitment to inner truth. We live in a culture that rewards the opposite, a relentless current pushing towards immediate gratification and visible progress, where presence has become performance and silence feels like absence. You see others launching, failing, iterating, and you admire their courage. Yet your own internal compass insists on a different pace. There's this constant hum of social comparison, the self-presentation pressure to appear decisive, always in control. The dopamine hits from external validation, the applause for quick wins, can make your deliberate process feel alien, almost wrong. But maybe the real noise isn't the external world's demand, but the internal conflict of having to show yourself to exist, to perform for an audience that doesn't understand your quiet deliberation. This can lead to a deep social fatigue, a weariness from constantly trying to fit a mold that doesn't feel authentic to your core. Psychologists might call this a strong internal locus of control, a deep-seated belief that your value and direction come from within, not from external pressures or hurried decisions. It's the ability to meticulously process information, to weigh scenarios, to anticipate the ripple effects of choices before they're made. In other words, it's knowing how to exist without needing to be seen, without needing to rush into action simply to prove your existence or worth. It's a form of emotional self-regulation, choosing when and how to reveal your intentions, protecting what's yours from others' eyes, a psychological ownership of your own path. This isn't avoidance, it's a discipline of the mind, a resistance to the instant rewards of the dopamine cycle that tempts us to act impulsively. It's about aligning your inner and outer worlds, ensuring congruence so that when you finally move, it's with conviction, not just momentum. Of course, it doesn't always come from a place of serene wisdom or perfect peace. Sometimes this overanalysis is born from a quiet fear, a subtle defense mechanism against potential missteps or unseen consequences. Sometimes it's a hyper-awareness of what could go wrong, a protective instinct that whispers caution, and that's okay, because even fear, in its purest form, is a type of care. It's a care for the outcome, a care for yourself, a care for those who might be impacted. It's not always a flaw to be corrected, but a sensitivity to be understood, a complex layer of your inner world that deserves acknowledgement, not judgment. It's the shadow side of foresight, the weight of responsibility felt before the first step is taken. Overthinking isn't a flaw. It's a deep dive into truth. Hesitation isn't weakness. It's the quiet strength of deliberation. Delaying action isn't paralysis. It's the profound act of aligning your soul. Imagine the soft light filtering through a window, a cup of coffee growing cool on a desk, and the quiet turning of pages in a book. This isn't idleness. It's mental hygiene, a deliberate curation of your inner landscape. The world screams for instant answers, for spontaneous leaps, but your soul understands that clarity isn't found in the clamor. It's found in the sacred pause, in the silent sifting of possibilities, where thoughts are not rushed but given room to breathe, to show their true colors. This meticulous internal dialogue, often mistaken for indecision, is actually the deep, quiet work of sculpting an intention, ensuring it is robust, resilient, and true to the intricate architecture of your being. Speaking less, or rather acting less impulsively, isn't coldness. It's emotional maturity. It's the understanding that every action casts a ripple, and that the most powerful movements begin with the deepest stillness. This isn't about avoiding the current. It's about choosing when to dip your hand in, understanding its flow, sensing its hidden depths, before you commit your entire being. It's the discipline of holding back, not from fear, but from a profound respect for the impact of your choices, for the delicate balance of your inner and outer worlds. It's knowing that true power lies not in the speed of the sprint, but in the unwavering direction of the marathon. A sustained focus born from careful thought. Staying in that space of contemplation, that internal sanctuary, isn't giving up on the world. It's coming home to yourself. It's an act of profound self-preservation, a gathering of internal resources before venturing out. It's recognizing that your energy is finite, and your actions should be intentional, not reactive. You are not running from the challenge. You are preparing for it, not with a frantic energy, but with a grounded, quiet power that hums beneath the surface. This isn't inaction. It's the profound, often invisible work of becoming, a slow, deliberate rhythm like breathing in and out, tension and release, preparing for the moment when the exhale becomes a purposeful, undeniable step. Think of someone who once tried to mirror the quick, decisive pace of others. They pushed themselves to make snap judgments, to speak before thinking, to launch projects with half-formed ideas, believing this was the path to success, to belonging. They forced themselves to be constantly on, to perform decisiveness, echoing the world's urgent demands. But inside, there was a gnawing emptiness, a deep exhaustion that no external validation could fill. Each hurried action felt hollow, disconnected from their true self, leaving a trail of regret and a profound sense of inauthenticity. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, they began to listen to the quiet hum of their own mind. They allowed themselves the luxury of the pause, the deep dive into possibility, the meticulous mapping of consequences. They chose the quiet contemplation over the noisy rush, and in that acceptance they found not paralysis, but a profound sense of inner calm. Their decisions, though slower to arrive, were imbued with a clarity and conviction that had always eluded them. It wasn't about being fast, it was about being true. It wasn't performance, it was reconnection, a quiet alignment with their deepest wisdom, a finding of peace in their own deliberate cadence. It's not about being stuck in a loop of indecision. It's about choosing when and how to commit, ensuring your steps are deliberate, not merely reactive. You don't have to justify your process as a flaw. You can articulate it as a strength, a different kind of intelligence. You can say, I need to sit with this for a while, to explore its nuances, because my mind works best when it has space to connect the unseen dots. Or perhaps my pace might be different, but it leads to a deeper, more intentional outcome, one I can truly stand behind. This isn't about creating barriers. It's about establishing boundaries that honor your internal rhythm. It's about protecting the integrity of your thought process, recognizing that your depth isn't a burden, but a valuable asset. That's self-awareness, not a defect to be overcome. It's an inner congruence, a profound alignment between how you feel you need to operate and how you present that to the world without apology or explanation. You are simply translating your intricate internal landscape into a language the external world can begin to understand, without having to diminish its complexity or question its profound necessity. Universal structure. The psychology of people who overanalyze before acting. You are simply translating your intricate internal landscape into a language the external world can begin to understand, without having to diminish its complexity or question its profound necessity. But what if, beneath this hard-won self-awareness, there are deeper currents, older mechanisms still at play? What if this isn't just a conscious choice for peace, but a deeply wired, albeit sometimes maladaptive, survival instinct that hums beneath the surface of your brilliant mind? Perhaps your meticulousness, your deep dive into every possibility, is born from a part of you that's always scanning the horizon for unseen threats. It's a mental labyrinth, isn't it? Where the very intelligence that allows you to plan and predict also holds the keys to your most intricate traps, brick by agonizing brick. Maybe your mind, in its earnest desire to protect you, has built an intricate fortress of thought. There's a quiet whisper from what psychologists might call your prefrontal cortex, the part of you that meticulously plans, weighing every scenario, every ripple effect. It's designed for foresight, for strategy, for ensuring no stone is unturned. But then there's another voice, deeper, more primal, perhaps an overactive amygdala screaming, "Danger!" when none truly exists, or at least none that requires such an exhaustive internal debate. It's a relic, perhaps, of evolutionary roots that once served us in a world of immediate, tangible threats, misfiring now in a landscape of complex choices where the danger is often abstract, a potential regret, an imagined failure. This isn't always a flaw to be overcome, but a profound internal dialogue, sometimes a battle. It's the intricate dance between the part of you that seeks perfect clarity and the part that anticipates every shadow. You might find yourself caught in the fear of failure, where the imagined consequence of a misstep feels catastrophic, disproportionate to the actual risk. Or, paradoxically, you might experience a subtle fear of success, a resistance to the unknown changes that achieving a goal might bring, the new identity it might demand. There's an insidious perfectionism at play, isn't there? A belief that anything less than flawless execution is catastrophic, that a perfect path must exist, if only you can think hard enough to find it. This fuels an illusion of certainty, a relentless quest for a guaranteed outcome that life rarely offers, and all of this is amplified by the world outside. We live in a culture saturated with highlight reels of social media, where every success is broadcast, every journey curated for public consumption. This creates an unspoken pressure, a cult of optimal performance, making you believe that anything less than flawless is somehow inadequate. You see others' quick wins, their seemingly effortless leaps, and your own deliberate pace feels out of sync, almost archaic. This external pressure feeds the internal loop, making your brilliant mind, designed for innovation and action, so often become its own worst enemy. It's a constant, quiet struggle against emotional anchors that keep you tethered to indecision, even when your soul yearns for movement, for the simple, unburdened act of doing. This isn't a lack of courage. It's the weight of a consciousness that feels too much, too deeply, too broadly. This isn't a lack of courage. It's the weight of a consciousness that feels too much, too deeply, too broadly. And in this vast internal landscape, your brilliant mind, designed for innovation and action, can sometimes become its own most formidable adversary. It's a paradox, isn't it? The very instrument meant to guide you, to illuminate pathways, now builds intricate walls, brick by agonizing brick, within a mental labyrinth where every turn leads back to another question, another doubt. Perhaps it's a quiet whisper from deep within, from that part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, meant for foresight, for strategy. It meticulously plans, weighing every scenario, every ripple effect, ensuring no stone is left unturned. But then, there's another voice, deeper, more primal, an echo from an ancient part of you, perhaps an overactive amygdala screaming danger when none truly exists. It's a relic perhaps of evolutionary roots that once served us in a world of immediate, tangible threats, misfiring now in a landscape of complex choices where the danger is often abstract. A potential regret, an imagined failure, a future self that might judge this present decision. This isn't always a flaw to be overcome, but a profound internal dialogue, sometimes a battle. You might find yourself caught in the intricate web of the fear of failure, where the imagined consequence of a misstep feels catastrophic, disproportionate to the actual risk. Every potential path is scrutinized not for its promise, but for its pitfalls, for the slightest crack that could lead to an irreversible collapse. And then there's a subtler, more unsettling fear, the fear of success itself, a resistance to the unknown changes that achieving a goal might bring, the new identity it might demand, the unfamiliar landscape it might reveal. It's a quiet apprehension of leaving the known, even if the known is uncomfortable, for a future that holds both triumph and new challenges. There's an insidious perfectionism at play here, isn't there? A belief that anything less than flawless execution is catastrophic, that a perfect path must exist, if only you can think hard enough to find it. This fuels an illusion of certainty, a relentless quest for a guaranteed outcome that life rarely offers. You chase a mythical best decision, convinced that with enough thought, enough analysis, you can eliminate all risk, all doubt. But the pursuit of this absolute certainty often leads not to clarity, but to a deeper entanglement, a tightening of the very chains you seek to break. It's the paradox of the analyst. The more you try to control the variables, the more uncontrollable the internal landscape becomes. And all of this is amplified by the world outside, isn't it? We live in a culture saturated with highlight reels of social media, where every success is broadcast, every journey curated for public consumption. This creates an unspoken pressure, a cult of optimal performance, making you believe that anything less than flawless is somehow inadequate, a personal failure. You see others' quick wins, their seemingly effortless leaps, and your own deliberate pace feels out of sync, almost archaic. This external pressure feeds the internal loop, making your brilliant mind, designed for innovation and action, so often become its own worst enemy. It's a constant, quiet struggle against emotional anchors that keep you tethered to indecision, even when your soul yearns for movement, for the simple, unburdened act of doing. This is the uncomfortable truth. Your mind, in its earnest desire to protect you, has become a complex cage, woven from foresight and fear, from ambition and apprehension. It's a truth that demands confrontation, not condemnation. It asks you to look inward, to observe the intricate mechanisms of your overanalysis, not as a flaw to be fixed, but as a profound internal narrative to be understood. Because only by acknowledging this insanity, this brilliant yet burdensome internal loop, can you begin to illuminate the pathways to breaking free, to reclaiming your agency, and to transforming the weight of thought into the power of deliberate, conscious action. Not every absence of immediate action is emptiness. Sometimes it's where the soul learns to breathe again, where clarity is forged in the quiet crucible of contemplation. And maybe this deep dive into thought, this meticulous overanalysis, isn't escape from the world, but the most profound way back to yourself, to the core of your authentic, deliberate being. It's the journey from the labyrinth of thought to the clarity of true intention, a homecoming to the wisdom that resides beyond the noise. What part of you, in its profound need to understand every angle, to map every ripple, has the world never truly understood, but that in the silence of your own mind, you've learned to respect, to integrate, and even to cherish. If this video gave you words to understand what you've always felt, if it illuminated the intricate beauty and burden of your overthinking mind, subscribe. Here we speak about what the world never named, but you've always known, deep within the quiet chambers of your own relentless thought.